Seva?
Maya.
Maya, that's right. Maya is covering the soul. So in the analogy I told you, there's a blanket covering the light. So what's the blanket? Yes.
Maya.
Maya, again. And the darkness created by the blanket, what's the darkness? Isha? Ignorance, that's right. What's the answer to 2A? Someone can read it and give the answer. Supriya?
Soul is turned away from God.
Yes. Soul is turned away from God. And B? Who wants to answer B? Who didn't have a chance yet? Yes.
Maya covers the soul?
Yes. Maya covers the soul. So this is the sequence. Soul is turned away from God. Then Maya covers the soul. C? Prisha, do you want to try? Do you know the answer to C?
I don't know the answer to the first blank, but I know for the second two.
Okay, what are the second two?
That he is the body, not the soul.
Yeah, it's actually the other way around. C, the person forgets who he is, that he is the soul, not the body. But I know what you were saying. You were saying that we start thinking we're the body. So C is forgets. D is saying the same thing again. Who wants to answer D? Yes.
We think we are the body.
Yes. We think we are the body. This is ignorance or darkness. And what about E? I didn't tell you this, but you might be able to guess it based on your... Yes. We get attached to all things connected to our
Soul.
body. Because you think you're the body, so you get attached to all the things connected to your body. What do you think would happen if you thought you were the soul? What would you get attached to then?
God.
God. That's right. So the basic problem we have is that we think of ourselves as the body. That's why we get attached to worldly things. And if we thought of ourselves as the soul, we'd get attached to divine things. F. Yes.
We try to find happiness by enjoying the world.
Yes, we try to find happiness by enjoying the world. And G says, thus we go on multiplying our worldly attachments and desires. And H, because of this, we take birth after birth in the world. We're caught in the cycle of,
Reincarnation.
Yes, it is reincarnation, but I don't write that because I made it worded slightly different. Instead of saying reincarnation, I said the cycle of, what is reincarnation? Yeah, birth and death.
And then we're separate from God.
We're separate from God, that's right. So we're caught in this cycle of birth and death, living in the world, suffering a lot, even though you might think you enjoy a lot too, but you also suffer a lot. And you don't have a choice to be here or not. You have to be here, and if you die, then you have to be reborn. So it's not an ideal situation. And what's the ultimate cause of this? Based on what we just talked about, what is the cause for our being in this situation where we're caught in the cycle of birth and death and suffering in the world? Yes?
Because of God?
Well, how do you mean because of God? It has something to do with God, but do you mean God put us here?
He moves our souls to another body.
Oh yeah, he does do that, yes, but he's not responsible for our being here. There's another reason for it. He makes us take rebirth, yes, or he decides where we'll be reborn. But that's not the reason we're caught in this situation. Yes?
Since we are separate from God.
We are, that's part of the problem, but what's the original cause? Yes?
To attain God.
That's the solution. What's the original problem? Yes?
Because we haven't attained God.
Yes, that's also part of the problem. We haven't attained God. But what's the cause for our being attached in the world? And because of that, having to take birth after birth. Yes?
We forget that we're the soul.
Thank you. We forgot we're the soul. We start thinking of ourselves as the body. That's the cause. But what's the cause of that?
Maya.
Yes, that's right. Maya causes that. But what gives Maya the chance to make us do that? Yes?
When you don't turn towards God.
That's right.
Very good.
That's the sequence. So now how to correct the problem? You got to the absolute origin of the problem, so now you should be able to correct the problem, right? How do you correct it? The absolute origin is we are, what did he just say?
We turn towards God.
We're currently turned away from God, so what's the solution? You just said it.
Turn forward.
Turn towards God. That's right. If you turn towards God, Maya goes away and everything else falls into place. Yes?
Yesterday, or the day before, I forgot, but you said like Krishna was like with his saints.
When he comes here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So does like a normal person ever have a chance to be with him?
Yes. When you turn towards him and then you meet him, then you stay with him forever. You become one of those saints.
And without being like one of those saints, like what if he like takes the form of an ordinary person?
Not really. Yeah. Sometimes Krishna might come as a saint, meaning disguised as a saint. But that's very rare. Okay, so you have the answer to number 3. How to correct 3A. How to correct this? Turn towards God. What's B? Yes.
Then Maya will go away?
Yes, then Maya will go away. Then what do you receive? Divine knowledge. What were you going to say? Yes. And bliss, which means happiness, perfect happiness. So in brackets, it refers back to the original analogy. Take something off and the something comes back. What do you think it is? Yes?
Take the blanket off and the light.
Right. Take the blanket off and the light comes back. So when you turn towards God, Maya is banished. Maya can't affect you anymore, so it's like taking the blanket off. Now there's light. Now before we finish this 5th chapter, there's a big question we have to make sure everybody understands the answer to. When did we turn away from God? Anybody know? Yeah.
When we went to a new life.
So in this life, at the beginning of the life, we turned away from God. That's one possibility. What's another possibility? Yes.
Eternal.
Okay, Isha said it's eternal. So this is correct. What's another way of saying that? Then when did we turn away from God? We were always turned away from God. We never turned away from God. Because once you turn towards God, you can never turn away from God. It means once you meet God, you're God realized, Maya can never get a hold of you again. Even a saint who comes in this Mayic world, is not under the effect of Maya. He can live in the Mayic world, but Maya doesn't affect him. He can go back anytime he wants. So had we ever been with God, we'd still be with God now. So the fact that we're not with God right now shows you that we've never been with God. We've always been turned away. You have a question?
No,
It's kind of hard to understand, but at the same time it makes sense, right? Meaning it's hard to conceive of eternity in your mind, but at the same time it makes sense that had we ever been God realized, how could we have ever come under Maya? It's not possible. Yes?
So Maya can't affect saints in any way?
That's right. Or God. Yes?
So, wasn't there ever a beginning?
No.
So there was never a beginning to the universe?
There's a beginning to the universe, but that beginning was not like a creation of something. Because Maya has always been there, but then God activates Maya, so the universe is created. And then he deactivates it, so the universe is destroyed. But Maya is not created or destroyed. It's always there.
Why would you want to destroy the universe?
Give a break. Let the souls have some rest.
What of the people that are on the universe at that time?
Yeah, we all die. But we've died billions of times. Right? Dying's not such a big deal. So we all die at once. What's the big deal? However the end of the universe happens, it doesn't matter. We probably don't even know it. It just happens, and then God starts everything again. So it's like going to sleep at night and getting up in the morning. So everybody gets a nice rest inside God, although we don't experience God at that time, but we're just waiting, dormant, until he again creates the universe, and then we all go and get born again.
So what do we do while we're waiting?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Like being in a coma.
Okay.
Which is why he decides to create the universe again. He says, what's the use of these souls just existing like this? I have to give them a means of reaching me. Yes?
So would it feel like a long time staying there? Really?
No, it wouldn't feel like anything. And it could be billions and trillions of years, but it wouldn't. It just like if you go to sleep at night, and let's say you slept for 10 years instead of just 8 hours. When you wake up after those 10 years, you wouldn't even realize, right? Yes?
Why does our souls need rest?
Okay, let me put it, you're right. Soul doesn't need rest. Let me explain it another way. It's the nature of physical things that they have a beginning and an end. So they can only exist for a certain period of time and then they dissolve. So the universe had a beginning point. It means at some point it has to end and then begin again. So it's always a cycle like that. So because that's the nature of material energy, at some point God puts an end to the universe and then restarts it. Yes?
Will everybody reach God at one point?
Yes and no. I mean, everybody is given the same chance to reach God. But when it happens is up to us. And then the other thing is, you'll never run out of souls living in this universe because the number of souls is infinite. So even though infinite souls are reaching God every second, there's always infinite souls remaining. So there will always be people living in the universe. Yes?
When we're in our dormant form, so you said we die instantly, kind of?
You mean when the universe ends, however it ends? Yeah, I don't really know what that's like.
Yeah, but when God restarts it, do we all grow up as a baby or?
Yeah, we don't come back to the same moment where we were when the universe ended. we get a new life. Maybe if, depending on the actions we did in our last life, we could be born in another species, or if we get another human birth, we'll look different, we'll have a different family, different country, all of that. So it's like starting fresh, kind of, like a new life. It's no different than if you die and then you're given another birth. Same thing. Yes?
So like, what if, do you like stay with your original family when you are born again?
You go depending on your attachments, right? And it also depends on the time of birth. I mean the time of death. Meaning, who dies first? Who leaves their body first? Whoever leaves first, maybe your grandfather can be reborn as or your great-grandfather might be reborn as your child, or your grandparent, depending how old you are when that person passes away, right? So you can be recycled like that. But there's, then you still don't remember. You don't know that, oh, this is my grandfather, now he's my child.
And so...
But it can happen. It depends on the attachments where you're going to be reborn.
So like, what if all the people on Earth go back, attain God, and then like all these animals are left, but they were all like bad. So then there won't be any humans on the Earth.
No, it never happens all at once, right? Someone gets God realized, few people get God realized.
But what if everyone gets God realized?
No, it doesn't happen that way.
In a year.
No, it doesn't happen that way. It's not practical.
And why doesn't God just, like, if you're trying hard, why doesn't he just, like, make you God realized?
Oh, well, that's the last question right here. Number 4. Why doesn't God just make all the souls turn towards him? If that's the answer. So, in the 5th chapter, he says, Nakartritvam nakarmani lokasya srijati prabhu nakarma phala sanyogam swabhavastu pravartate. He says, I don't control the actions of the souls. I give the consequences of the actions. So we have free will to do and think what we want, but we don't have freedom to decide if we want to get the consequences or not. Once you do the action, you have to get the consequences. So you can't have it both ways. You know what I mean? Either you have free will or you don't. So since we have free will, that includes surrendering to God or not. So it's up to us to become surrendered to God.
It's hard.
I guess it is, since we've been having so many uncountable lifetimes and we haven't done it yet. But it's not hard to understand. It's just that we've never become single-minded about it. That I want to do this and I'm going to follow through and complete it. We learn about it, we do a little bit, and then we kind of forget about it. So that's why, it's not that it's a difficult skill that's required to do it, it's just that we have to decide to do it and do it. Yes?
Why do we die?
It's also because of the material energy. The material things are always degrading, right? Like let's say you build a house. From the moment the house is built, what starts happening? It starts getting old, wearing out. Then you have to start repairing it. The minute you buy a car, what happens? The car starts getting old. Things start breaking. You have to start getting it repaired. So our body is exactly like that. From the moment you're born, your body starts wearing out. So it can only last a limited time. It's just the nature of material things. So we trade it in for another body, that's all. Just like you trade your car in. Yes?
But you could die by like getting hurt? Like by accident?
Yeah, you can die all at once, even at a young age, if you get in an accident or something. And that's also part of the destiny. when we're given a birth, God already knows how long we'll have that birth for before we have to move on. It's already decided that, okay, you get 5 years and 8 months, or you get 50 years and 80 days, and it all depends. And although it's hard for those left behind to understand it, it's going early or going later, dying old, dying young, it's not good or bad. If you look at the whole span of things, we're living life after life after life. So okay, however much we did in 10 years, okay, we can continue that in our next life. But because we think we're the body, if someone dies young, we think, oh, their life was cut short. Well, it's not. They just traded in their body earlier than we did. But it's hard to think like that because we really are attached to this body. Yes?
In that case, how is the fetus justified when the fetus in the womb, mother's womb dies? How would you justify that?
Justify it, meaning?
Meaning, like, if it dies, then that's the only time frame that soul had? How would you say that?
Yeah, I mean, even if someone only lives to the age of 3, they haven't started performing karma yet because they haven't correctly understood right and wrong. So God isn't even counting our karma until we get to a certain age where we can distinguish those things. So you can say that in that case, that soul had to undergo that as part of their destiny because of past actions, but they weren't given a chance in this life to perform karma. But then they'll be reborn, obviously, so they'll get a chance eventually.
Another question, why this Maya was created or whatever, made? Otherwise everybody would be turned to God if Maya wasn't there at all to start with.
Maya was never created.
I know, you just said that it was always there, right?
Yeah.
But why is it there? I mean, otherwise everybody would be turned to God, right?
The question why is
why?
looking for a karan. Like, karan is an actual technical term in Sanskrit.
Right, Karan.
Karan means the original cause, and karya is the outcome of that.
Yes.
So this universe is the outcome, and the karan is Maya plus God. God has to activate Maya. Now, when we're looking for you're saying, okay, why does Maya even exist? So you're looking for the karan of Maya, but it never happened. See, when something happened, before this time it wasn't like this, then from this time it started being like this. Then you can say this was the karan. When something has always been like that, there's no karan. It's always been there. So the question why can apply to those things that are eternal, like why does God exist? Well, He's always existed. Why does Maya exist? It's always been here. Why do we exist? We've always been here. So, 4a, Krishna says that he does not, control the actions of the souls. B, Nidhi?
They have free will.
Yes. They have free will. And C, who didn't have a chance lately? Kushi?
So it is up to a soul to turn towards God?
Yes. It is up to a soul to turn towards God. So how do we turn towards God? There's a practice you have to do, and chapter 6 tells us about that. So does everyone have chapter 6 handout for today? I don't actually, if anyone can bring me one. Yes.
I have a question. You said that we have the chance to be human because God gives us a chance to turn towards Him. So, what if you live another, like after your body dies, like you reincarnate as a human again?
Mhm.
And what happens if like you're born like in a different religion that doesn't believe in
Ah, that's kind of like in a way, it's like a bad destiny. If you're born somewhere in the world where you can't learn about God, or the people that you're born around, or the culture you're born into doesn't believe in God, it's like a bad destiny that's happening to you. That you have to undergo that. It might be because of something bad that person did in the past. But eventually they get a chance. I mean, everyone inside them has a desire for God. So when someone's ready, then they get a chance to find out about God. Yes?
You get reborn in what, hell?
You can go to hell. It's like a jail. So you go there for some time and then you're released and you come back here. But you have to do a lot of bad actions to go there. Main thing is it's not forever. We've all been there. Yeah, in uncountable past lifetimes, we've been very good some lifetimes, we've been kind of normal some lifetimes, we've been very bad some lifetimes. In infinite lifetimes, we would have been to Swarg infinite times, we would have been to Narak infinite times, we would have been born in all the species infinite times. And we would have been born as human infinite times also. And through all of that, we've yet to surrender to God. Yes?
So then what is moksha? They say that you come out of birth and death cycle?
Yeah, that's when you turn towards God and Maya goes away. That's moksha. Moksha means freedom. Freedom from Maya, freedom from birth and death.
So you never come back in the birth and death cycle?
Yeah, if you were to come back, you would come back as a saint, visiting the earth for the benefit of the other souls. So you wouldn't be under Maya, but you'd be visiting in this Mayic world. So, in chapter 6, Krishna, and this is the last thing we're going to be studying for the time we have left today and also tomorrow, Krishna tells how the secret behind attaching your mind to him, because that's what you have to do. Turning towards him means attaching your mind to him. It's not physically turning around. It means like opening your heart to him or developing your attachment to him, developing your faith. So to do that, you have to mentally find out, what should I do? How do I mentally get my mind to turn towards God? So Krishna says, Yogi yunjita satata matmanam rahasi sthita. He tells about meditation. Now, you've heard me describe a little bit about meditation already in this class, but let's see exactly what Shri Krishna says. He says, first of all, you have to be a yogi. So you remember what yoga means? What does it mean? Not what people normally think, like stretching and touching your toes and that. What does yoga mean? Yeah. That is karma yoga, means doing good actions with your mind and God. But yoga alone, what does it mean? Yes.
Doing all your duties and
No, that's just karma. What is yoga? Yes.
doing good stuff.
No, that's karma. Doing good is karma. What is yoga? Yes.
Does it have something to do with God?
It has something to do with God. Yes.
It's your mind to God.
Your mind attached in God. That's yoga. Yoga means union, to join. So your mind and God being joined, that's yoga. So a yogi is someone who is attaching his mind to God. You can fill that in. Or you can say a devotee of God. Either way. Yunjita. So yogi is the one doing the attaching, right? And yunjita is the verb. It means attaching your mind to God. The yogi is the person, and yunjita is the verb, attaching your mind to God. Satatam means continuously. Rahasi means like sthita means sitting, and rahasi means like sitting calmly without fidgeting and like moving around and looking around. Then Shri Krishna says, I didn't give you word, you don't have to write these down, but the rest of this verse is Ekaki yata chittatma nirashir aparigraha. Nirashi and aparigraha means when you sit to meditate on God, try to forget everything else. It's hard to clear your mind, but most of the time what's going around in our head are things we're worrying about or things we want, things that we desire. So Shri Krishna says, clear all that out of your head and just think about Him. So in the next verse he says, Manah sanyamya machitto yukta asita matpara. Yes.
What does sthita mean?
Sthita means sitting. And in the next part where it says manah, you know what man is? You know?
Your mind.
Your mind, right. So manah means mind. Sanyamya, sanyam, sanjam, sometimes people say, you know what that means?
Self-control.
Control. So sanyamya means control, obviously controlling your mind. Do you know what chitta is?
Mind.
Yeah, here it means specifically, I would say, like the heart, actually. So mat chitta, mat means Krishna's saying me, and heart, your heart. So in other words, bring Him into your heart. Not literally. Just like people say, oh, keep me in your heart all the time. Right? It's the same thing. Krishna's saying, keep me in your heart. Mat chitta. And mat paraha we had way back in the second chapter. Does anyone remember what it means? Mat means the same thing, me. What about paraha? Not in this case. Here it means like parayan. Yeah, it means like having a positive feeling of relationship towards someone. So do you remember the 5 kinds of relationship you can have with God? What are they? Or tell one if you remember one.
As your beloved.
As your beloved, yes, that's madhurya bhav. Yes.
Wait, do I have to say the...
Doesn't have to be in order.
Okay. But do I have to say the real name?
No.
Okay. As your friend.
As your friend, that's sakhya bhav. Yes, Krishna.
As your child.
As your child, that's vatsalya bhav. Seva.
As your baby.
As your baby, that's also vatsalya bhav. Yes, Deepti.
As your master.
As your master, yeah. That's, what's that called again? Dasya bhav. Yes.
As your brother.
As your brother, which also comes in the category of friend, so that's called sakhya bhav. Nidhi.
Sister.
As your sister, that also comes as sakhya bhav. Yes.
Mother or father.
Mother or he's the father or she's the mother, which means the same as kind of that same category as you're the servant and they're the master. So that's dasya bhav. Yes.
As your beloved.
As your beloved, which is madhurya bhav. Yes.
Your husband.
As your husband, which is also madhurya bhav. Aren't we missing one? Oh, we're missing the most distant one. Shant bhav. Yes, shant bhav, which means what?
The king.
The king or queen, and we're just a subject in the kingdom. Yes.
Can you attain God by thinking that you're a king or queen?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, but then you'll have a more distant relationship. So if you worship God as the king or queen, then they'll have